Today, I'm answering your questions on the Burgundy and Gold. Welcome in to the Commanders Report. And today, man, this is my favorite segment because I get to talk to you guys, the Commanders fans, here on YouTube. I get to answer your questions on all the different stuff going around OTAs, around Jaden Daniels, around all the young players that this team has interjected into this roster this year. And I can't wait to see what you got for me on this week's edition of the Commanders Report Mailbag. But before we get into it, man, make sure you click that subscribe button right now to join the most interactive Commanders fan community right here on the YouTube platform. We got over 15,000 Commanders fans already subscribed to the channel. We have live shows every single Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, where you guys can get your questions on the show, have your voice heard, all these different things. We got a great community of Commanders fans for you guys to join right now, and all you got to do is click that subscribe button. So with that, I'll pause and open it up for questions. We got one from commanders.prod at DZZ. Says, hashtag Commanders, any more trade rumors specifically about DK Metcalf? Honestly, man, I think the Commanders are probably good with where they're at the wide receiver position. It's always fun to talk about the DK Metcalfs and all these different guys that the Commanders could target at the wide receiver position, but that's a pretty darn big contract. He's going to be due another new contract here coming up soon. That's going to be a lot of money. And you already have Terry McLaurin. I think this team believes in Jahan Dotson and even De'Ami Brown, who I think is a really good fit for Jaden Daniels' skill set. So I don't think DK Metcalf's in the cards. A, I don't think the Commanders want to go get him. And then B, I don't think the Seattle Seahawks are going to be willing to deal him. Then we got one from Demarius Young. What's up, Demarius? Good to see you, my friend. Says, what does the offensive tackle look like right now? So it looks like Cornelius Lucas is probably going to start week one. Brandon Coleman is who this team is hoping develops into their future left tackle, but I'm skeptical of that, man. He's had injuries, which has affected his ability to move effectively. So he's got the long arms. I thought he tested really well, but his performance at the Senior Bowl was absolutely atrocious. He graded super poorly at TCU his final season there at the Horned Frogs. I think he's going to have to take at least a year to sit the bench and kind of learn and develop. And even then, he might not be ready. So, it looks like Lucas is going to be the guy, unless they want to go out and get a David Bakhtiari or a Donovan Smith in free agency, or if they want to move Sam Cosmi to left tackle. That's certainly a possibility too, but, Cosmi's the only legitimate starter on this offensive line right now. Moving him to tackle would certainly be a risk. So it looks like Cornelius Lucas, and it's not looking great. Then we got one from Mad Max here. He says, does it make sense to bring in wide receiver Michael Thomas? It's an interesting question because, instead of trading like a first-round pick for DK Metcalf or whatever it would cost to get him, you could get Michael Thomas for close to the vet minimum right now, and he provides something that there's not a whole lot of in the Commanders wide receiver room right now, and that's size, okay? Like the tallest receiver that they have right now, I believe, is Luke McCaffrey. Okay, and, he's bigger, but, he's not necessarily ready to take on like a true X role in this offense. Michael Thomas could be that guy, and he could be a red zone threat. I wouldn't mind it at all, especially if you get him for close to the league minimum. Michael Thomas is somebody that's still a good player when he's healthy, so, just give Jaden Daniels another weapon. I wouldn't hate it whatsoever. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comments section. Would you sign wide receiver Michael Thomas for close to the league minimum? Type S for sign or type P for pass. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. Then we got one from Greg Coles here. It says, do you think Jahan Dotson will achieve 1,000 yards receiving next season? I hope so, man. I hope so. If I'd have to guess, I think he's going to come just short. And the reason why I say that is because I think Terry McLaurin's going to get a lot of the production. Okay, and then another thing to consider here is you have a rookie quarterback playing against kind of a porous offensive line. Okay, like especially the left side of the offensive line is not in good shape right now, and there's going to be pressure put on Daniels, who's a rookie quarterback. He's going to be going up against the speed of NFL defenses for the first time. I'm just not sure if there's going to be enough production to go around for two 1,000-yard receivers. So I think Dotson will kind of he'll have a bounce-back season. He'll show a lot of promise, and he'll solidify himself as the number 2 option in this wide receiver room. But 1,000 yards, I think, is probably a little bit rich for Jahan Dotson this year. Then we got one from EZT Tactical, who says, who do you think Jaden Daniels will gel with more this year, Terry or Jahan Dotson? So I think it's going to be Scary Terry because he's the better receiver. Now, that doesn't mean I don't think that Dotson won't have a good year. I mean, once again, like I just said, I think that he's going to have a bounce-back year. I think he will solidify himself as the number 2 receiver on this team. But Scary Terry, I mean, you can make an argument. He's a top 10 receiver in football, and he's just never had a good quarterback throwing him the football. He's had guys like Wentz, Heineke, Howell. I mean, these are the guys that are throwing the ball to Terry McLaurin. I mean, come on now. I think if you give him a legit top 10 quarterback like I think Jaden Daniels can be, he's going to be a top 10 receiver in the league. He's awesome, man. And I think he's the whole package. I think he'll have another good year this year. And I think maybe next year, not this year, but in 2025 is really when he has like the all-pro caliber season that we want from him. Then we got one from the CEO of Chat Sports here, James Yoder. He says, Mikey Sainristil equals a better Honey Badger. Prove me wrong. And honestly, man, I think Sainristil is an awesome player, dude. I really do. He's so good as a blitzer from the slot, really good in man coverage, really smart player as well. And the thing that's scary about Mike is that he's relatively new to the position, okay? And, he was so good from the slot, even though he really didn't have much experience playing there. So the instincts are certainly there. I mean, I don't hate that comparison whatsoever. I think Sainristil might be, would it be crazy to say he's the best defensive player on the Commanders this year? I honestly don't think that's entirely crazy. You got Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne who are pretty darn good as well. But, Mike Saintristil, I think he's going to be one of the best nickel corners in football from the word go. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. We got daily Commanders news and rumors videos here on the channel for you guys to enjoy. We have breaking news coverage every time the Commanders make a big move. We have a weekly live show every single Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern time, and then it's all 100% free. So if you bleed burgundy and gold, you love the Washington Commanders, and you think that this team has a bright future, and you want to become an expert on this team, make sure you click that subscribe button right now. All right, so we got one from JG. He says, will Mike Saintristil have a problem with hip drop rule change? I think the entire NFL is going to have a problem with this, especially the start. And it's going to be another one of these adjustments, right? There was an adjustment period when they had the new rules for hitting the quarterback. And I think teams have adjusted to that relatively well at this point. I think the same thing's going to happen with hit drops. Where there's going to be some really crucial calls late in games that decide some of these football games because these guys are so used to having that type of tackle in their arsenal where there's just going to be instinctual, triggers in their brain to just go to that, and there's going to be penalties. But I think 3-4 years down the line, I think the game's probably going to be safer, and hopefully they can find other ways to get the opposing player to the ground. Then we got one from Mike Honcho. Oh my gosh, what a great name right here. What a great profile here. Mike Honcho says, what would you consider to be a fair trade offer for Jonathan Allen? So I don't think the Commanders trade John this offseason. I think that they see him. I think that what their plan is right now is to play Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne, and Johnny Newton, who they just drafted in the second round this year, all at the same time. I think they want them on the field all at the same time. And then they're going to put Dorrance Armstrong on the edge, and then they'll probably have another linebacker type, like either Jamin Davis or Frankie Louvu, kind of creeping up at the line of scrimmage. So that's going to be their plan. And I think that's a good plan. So with that plan, okay, Jonathan Allen's a crucial part of that. So with 2 years left on his deal, I don't think he gets traded. And if you listen to him in his press conference earlier this week, he's reinvigorated, man. He loves Dan Quinn, the new head coach. He loves where this team is going. I don't think Jonathan Allen's going anywhere. So predict it for me down there in the comments section. Will Jonathan Allen get traded sometime during this offseason or during this year in general? Type yes or no for me down there in the comments section to give me your answer when it comes to this question. All right, so we got one more question here, or a couple more questions from Jonathan Taylor here. Says, does Luke McCaffrey go over 300 yards receiving? It's going to be tough, man. It's going to depend on how fast he rises up the ranks. Because honestly, I didn't love his tape. I had a 6th-round grade on him. He looked slow to me on film. He's not the best in terms of route running at this point in his journey, in my opinion. But he's big. He's physical. I guess he's got that for him. He tested well, so he's a good straight-line athlete at least. So, I think with the kind of receiving talent the Commanders have, at the 1 and 2 with McLaurin and Dotson. I think that's going to eat up a lot of the receptions. I'm not sure if McCaffrey gets the 300. I'm hoping that I'm wrong, and I hope that he develops into a nice player and he can get over 300. But I think it's going to be more of a sit and learn kind of year for Luke McCaffrey. Oh, and then we got a $100 super chat from IQ Barbecue. Let's go, baby. Everybody shout out IQ Barbecue down there in the comments section. Just type IQ for me to show some love to this $100 super chat for Mr. IQ Barbecue. And make sure you click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. If you are a real one, you click that subscribe button, you support our channel, you watch our shows, and of course if you watch our shows that clicking that thumbs up icon is the fastest and easiest way to help out our channel, so I greatly appreciate all of your support. Then we got one from Dr. Rick Marshall. Says, which player, if any, do you think is the most likely for the Commanders to trade for this offseason? See, the thing is, man, the Commanders, I think, are probably pretty good with where they're at. What I'll say is Dan Moore Jr. And if you don't know who Dan Moore Jr. is, he was the starting left tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers the last several seasons, actually. Hasn't graded amazingly, but he's still a really young player. He's gotten better, arguably, every year of his career, and the Steelers just spent 2 consecutive first-round picks on offensive tackles. So I think he's available via trade. You can probably get him for a 6th or a 7th-round pick, and he would immediately make that left tackle situation way better than what it is right now with Cornelius Lucas or Brandon Coleman. So that's what I'll say. Dan Moore Jr., Pittsburgh Steelers offensive tackle. So let me know down there in the comments section, what player do you still want the Commanders to add at this point in the offseason? Is it Michael Thomas? Is it somebody else? Is it DK Metcalf? Let me know down there in the comments section which player you want Washington to acquire before the season starts. That'll be it for this week's mailbag, guys. Really do appreciate all of your guys' support. I love doing these every single week. I love talking with you guys, love getting your concerns, all this different stuff, getting your questions. So really do appreciate your support. And if you want to get your question on next week's mailbag, you can go ahead and click that subscribe button and join us next Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern to get your question on the next edition of the Commanders Report Mailbag.